So,
Oh yeah, are you recording? Oh, you're recording right now. It says recording. Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
you bet
So
I
I'll be
am.
good.
Yeah.
I'll be good. I'll watch what I say.
Just don't say anything I would say, and you'll be fine. Yeah,
I
we'll
liked
do
your
another
video.
one. What's that?
I liked your last few videos. They were good, man.
Yeah, I find that they just come and go in waves, right? A lot of the times, um, I kind of mail it in, I guess. Not intentionally, but it just doesn't feel real sometimes. And then other times it's just like I'm tapped into it and I don't even remember talking very much. Yeah, it just flows, right? So
Yeah.
the last few, yeah, well, you've helped me though, because the one that I put out today, I wasn't planning on putting that one out. Like I usually record a bunch and then kind of figure out an order where they make sense, like thematically, right? And the one that I put out today, I just recorded recently and I wasn't going to put it out for a while. And then you mentioned the ego death on the Hakuin quote. And I was like, I had just recorded the one today and I was like, that's got to go next, man. It just follows right. I never even thought of it, but it just followed right on the heels of what you were saying. So I was like, fuck, there you go.
Well, I do what I can. Anything I do to help.
You do help, man. You're every single person that ever comments on my channel, and obviously you've commented lots. Like it's just all of it is tremendous help for me. So thank you,
Oh,
and I'm
right
glad that you enjoy it because yeah, you're part of the creation process, and you know. When you meet somebody after you do this, it's kind of like now I think about you when I'm making videos sometimes. You know, I'm like, oh, so reminds me of something Andy said. Or, you know what I mean? Like I try to connect things because it's like you're bringing something into my mind that wasn't there before. So
that's all about synchronicity too. It's like, because even the timing is crazy about stuff too. Like even the subject of those last two videos you did, um, I had this whole notepad of like stuff that I write down, like, oh, next time I make a video, I want to talk about this. So, but I never, just life is so busy, I never get the chance to, right? So I wrote all this stuff down on this whole big notepad, all these things I want to talk about. So the other day I was like, you know what? I had free time. I had the day to do it. So I was going to go walk the beach and go get something to eat. And it was a pretty long walk. So I said, okay, I'm just going to make every subject I'm going to make a video on, just a short little video. So I did. I started doing it, and I went through the whole list. And then I got home, and I was gonna, before I posted them on YouTube, I started watching them, and then I was like, I don't know, it just didn't feel right. Something didn't feel right. Like, so I didn't post them. I just deleted them all. I said, I'll do something another time. But I think I don't know, it's something weird about, but it's something about, you're talking about this, like kind of losing yourself, forgetting yourself. I think that was why I was not feeling good about it, is I was just kind of like too self-conscious about myself and how I was coming across. And really, we shouldn't even care about it. It's like, it doesn't even matter. So it's like, so I'll make some more videos with doing it. I'll do it over again, not caring so much about it.
yeah, well, I find that it's either you have to really let go and try to sort of you have to like I don't know I try to like think about it beforehand, and then once I go, I just try to be present and I try not to think. You know what I mean? I think before
Yeah.
I do the video, but then when I'm doing the video, I'm just kind of I have a general idea of kind of where I want to go with it. But sometimes I end up like I had one guy comment today tell me like I like when they're shorter and you stick to the topic, and I'm like, yeah, I wish I could. I wish I could. I wish I had control over that. Not always, but yeah, I understand what you mean. I tried making a YouTube channel like a year before I started this one, and it was like, you know, I public speak and I'm not nervous, but I felt so artificial and so awkward recording myself for YouTube videos, even though there was no one watching. It's just a recording. I was just so like, oh, tense. So it takes a while, I feel, to get in there and just to kind of like loosen up. It's weird.
Yeah. Is there, I was going to ask you a question, but before I do, is there anything on here that's off limits, subjects that are off limits that you don't want on here? If I ask you about personal stuff?
You can ask me anything you want. There's no trade secrets. I don't know what I'm doing, so okay. I'll try my best to tell you, but.
No, I was just going to ask you if, like when you're making the videos, part of the thing was I was listening to the content of what I was talking about, and I kind of got a little, not just self-conscious, but a little bit with the subjects itself I was talking about. I didn't want to, how do I say this? Even though I'm not trying to like personally like offend people or hurt people. I'm just speaking what's in my heart. But then a part of me was feeling like, do I really need to speak what's in my heart if that's gonna like hurt somebody? Or so maybe I just don't even do it. So I was wondering, like, when you're making stuff, is there anything that you feel like when you were telling your story about like your family, your parents and stuff, did you ever feel like if they were ever to watch that, or if, like, that they would get, I don't know, their feelings hurt or anything like that? Because I was feeling that way with my family. Like, if I didn't want to hurt anybody intentionally, so I was like, I don't know, I go back and forth on it. But do you ever like kind of stop yourself from saying certain subjects, talking about certain subjects?
Well, with my parents, like, yeah, I do. They're already hurt, right? So I don't really. What's a YouTube video gonna do, right? I've already cut them out of my life. They're already upset by that, so it's not like that's gonna. They're already offended. You know what I mean? I can't really mess that one up anymore. It's already done. So in that case, I never worried about it, and yeah, no, I never worried about it. I never.
But are you ever hopeful like that things will change in their life? And
Oh, of course I am. I mean, because that's the thing. Like, and I think they don't understand this, and I don't know if anybody else understands it. But I, I still love them. I want to be in. Like, I want to have a relationship with them. It's just that in their current state, there's no way we can do that. It's a deal breaker on both sides. So, you know, it wasn't easy for me. Like, I didn't want to do it. Like, the day that I decided this is the day I'm like, we're gonna see them. I'm gonna tell them I need to talk to them, and I'm gonna tell them, like, unless you guys are open your minds a little bit, I'm done. Like, I tried to get out of it. I was just like looking for excuses not to do it because it wasn't something I was looking forward to. I knew it was going to be uncomfortable. I knew it was going to be horrible, right? So it's not like that I have no love for them or I don't care about them. My sincere hope is that they can be like you one day, getting out of that thing and becoming their full best selves for the first time in their lives. They'll never get to experience that if they stay in the truth, right? So my hope is that, yeah, this is the best way that I know to do that, because staying in a relationship with them just isn't gonna, and trying to be patient and open-minded to their beliefs, it keeps giving them false hope that I'm going to eventually become one of them. And it's like, no, I'm just being nice. But now that I've learned all these things about it, I don't feel like being nice about that anymore. I feel like their beliefs are unethical and immoral, and I need to separate myself from that. So, but anyways, that was off topic, and I apologize for that.
No, I appreciate that, because that's what I know that you that's why I like talking. I know you get it, you understand it. Even you even use the term the truth, like a lot of people wouldn't even realize what you just said. But because I get a lot of people that are understanding and kind, but that have never been a part of it or even associate, like they don't know anything about it. And so I get a lot of people are totally understanding and supportive, but some people I get the feeling like some people, even though they're supportive and understanding, and they're like, we support you, but we feel like maybe you should just like let it alone, like let it go, kind of like let them do their thing, you do your thing, and don't try to. And I get that, like I'm not, it's like, yeah, it's kind of weird. It's like I understand. I would let them. People can believe whatever they want to believe and live their life however they want to live it. I'm not trying to change anybody, but I guess there's a difference when that belief system or that way you live your life affects you and affects your family and your kids and your parents. And I don't know. It's kind of weird, but
it's a tough one. Yeah, I mean, you're in a weird spot because I think that part of you feels the calling, the need to do what so many of the ex-Jehovah's Witnesses do, which is go online and talk about it and become like a support person for other people who are coming out of there. And just by sharing your experiences candidly in the public eye, you're helping people who are either thinking about leaving or having doubts. So on the one hand, there's that. And then on the other hand, obviously, from our conversations, you seem like you genuinely still love and care about your parents. And you have like you told me, like you saw them and you just told them, like, I love you guys, like, even though they're basically shunning you. So you're like, it's a really interesting situation that you're in, because yeah, you don't want to hurt them, but at the same time, you feel like what they're engaging in and their organization is like I said, immoral or wrong or whatever. It's hurting other people, and you want to help those people. So only you can
It's sad.
decide.
Like it's sad. It's sad because like not just you are affected, but they're affected too, because they probably want to see their grandkids. Your grandkids are affected because now they don't have grandparents on at least that side.
Yeah,
And
I've been able to explain it to my oldest pretty well, and without smearing them or without getting into too much detail. But really, when it comes down to it, if she presses me, all I have to do is say a couple of things about the doctrines of that faith, and then all of a sudden she turns on them completely, and I'm like, no. I'm like, for instance, the views on homosexuality and stuff, and I know they try to like dress it up like, oh, they're not against homosexuals, just against homosexual acts, but it's like, come on. So as soon as I say that, at our church there's two reverends and there are two women who are married. So it's not like we go to the pride parades, but we're not like, it's a non-issue for us. It's not even that we're friends with a lot of gay people. It's not even, I don't even know, because it doesn't matter to me who you fuck. It's not my problem.
Yeah.
You do you, as long as it's not, as long as it's consensual. But so anyways, it has been that hard on the kids, on the grandkids. The two youngest ones they don't really remember them that much. It's, this has been a long time coming. It's not like we were just like tight and then boom, right? My second and my third barely know my parents. So because we just kind of gradually were moving apart. But from your point of view, I mean, you're in this little island with these people. They still live there, right? I mean, a lot of your family and a lot of your brothers and sisters or former brothers and sisters in the faith are still on the island, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're like,
yeah,
you're still so close to it. And so if you make a video that offends them or hurts their feelings, and basically any video that isn't, any video that is against or critical of the doctrines will probably hurt them or offend them, I would imagine. When you see them, then there's hurt feelings and you have to deal with it. And so you're in a harder position than I think. For me, it was easy.
Well, just the whole thing is sad, because it's like, just families in general, families should have love and be there for each other, and the whole planet, the whole human family should just be there for each other and be loving and stuff. And things like this, not just this group, but a lot of groups like it too, they separate families. They make it impossible to have that love. They use the word
inhibit
love.
it.
Inhibit it, yeah. That's right. Thank you. You're reading my mind.
Well, no, but I was just gonna say, like, I guarantee you. Well, I can't guarantee anything. Okay, let me rephrase that. I bet you your mom still loves you. I bet you she's.
Oh, I know.
Exactly, right? So
does, yeah.
they're not killing love. They're just kind of torturing it and making it this twisted thing that they sometimes use against you, and sometimes you can't express it because this person now doesn't believe what you believe, and it's just adding these needless barriers to something that should be simple, right?
Yeah, and your parents love you too.
Oh yeah, I know they want, and that's the crazy, that's the motherfucker about this cult, this religion, this whatever you want to call it, that you used to be a part of, is like they meet in their heart of hearts, they think they're trying to save people, and they want me to go to this new system and live forever with them. Like, that's what they want in their heart of hearts. I know they do. Do. And I mean, you don't go knocking to strangers' doors and get abused, verbally, if you don't believe what you're doing. I feel like there's conviction there, and there is this belief that yes, we are helping people and stuff. So it's like, it's so hard because they feel like they're doing so much good, but at the same time, they're leading people astray away from the truth, in my opinion, away from people's own truths, I guess.
Yeah, I hear you. Thank you for expressing what I was thinking.
Sorry, man. You expressed it. I mean, you expressed it very clearly. I think it's not,
No, it's exactly what I was thinking. I just don't know how to put it. I don't know how to, I was never very good at forming sentences.
You're good at it, man. You express yourself very well, and I apologize for kind of, I'm not trying to speak for you. I'm kind of talking about my own experiences, but obviously that's...
No, don't apologize, man. You expressed it perfectly. Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. Yep. Thank you for that. No apologies.
Sorry, man. I don't want to do that. I don't want to talk for people.
No apologies, man. You weren't talking for me. You were actually saying exactly what I was thinking. So that was perfect.
Oh my God. I do get it, man. It's like I dove deep, man. I don't think that you can dismiss something without studying it extremely closely, and that's what I did for years. So, yeah, I call it the
Yeah.
truth because that's what they call it, and it's so okay, whatever.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean
You
anything to
can
me.
you can edit all this part out if you want.
Sure. Oh, I don't. Yeah,
But
no, I don't care. I think if you want to keep it, I'm happy to post it as a separate thing where it's just like a, I don't
no, I
know.
don't. I don't care anymore. I really don't care. It's part of my learning is to just not care what people think anymore. Just be who I am and not care. But
For
um,
yourself, yeah, but not wanting to hurt people's feelings is a valid concern. That's who you are, I think. I mean, you're a nice person, man. You have a good heart. You don't want to hurt other people needlessly. There's nothing wrong with that.
well, thank you for that. Um, I was gonna ask you a question going back to synchronicity or something. You said something in one of your I think it was a comment something in one of your videos or something. Oh yeah, it was. There's something about, and I said something about knowing people knowing like where you want to go, and I was commenting like I'm figuring that out. Like I don't really know what I want to do yet. And you said something in there, and I said, oh, next time I talk to Ollie, I'm gonna ask him this.
You want
You
me to
said
look it
something
up right
about,
now? You want me to go look it up in the comments?
if you, I don't know if you can, but it said something like you wrote back something like I think you already know what I think you already know or something, and I think you know what I mean. And I was like, oh, next time I didn't know what you meant, and I was like, oh, next time I talk to you, I was gonna ask him what is what do you mean?
I don't know. Don't you know? To some extent, you must have some clue, man, some inkling, like what it is that you want to do with yourself. Not specifically, but like generally speaking, you probably have a direction or an idea of things that you love or things that you'd love to do.
Mm, not really, not yet. It's all kind of brand new. I'm figuring that out,
I think
but
that
you
that's
don't remember
figuring
that,
it out
huh?
is, sorry, I don't remember the comment exactly. Hang on a second. I'm being interrupted by this child.
Oh, yeah.
Hang
No,
on
no
two
worries.
seconds. Kiana,
That's all good.
what are you doing right now? There's the washroom right there. I got rid of the spider. No, you need to go the other washroom, please. I kind of want you to flush the toilet. Are you going number one or number two? Okay, yeah, you can get away without flushing, but only once. Got to save water, my friend. I don't remember what the comment was, but I was probably referring to. I was probably referring to what, like, I think personally, I think that you're an outreach person for other people like you, man. I think that's kind of where you're heading. It seems like that's what you're flirting with. You want to make videos. You want to kind of like reach out to people and stuff. And you've already made connections with all these different people. So I think, in that direction, there's definitely something for you. It might not be like your life's calling or your ultimate purpose, but that's a good direction to start in. And it might lead you somewhere else that is the right place. But, just follow your interests and follow what your heart kind of tells you to do. You seem like you want to do something with the Jehovah's Witnesses, with helping people. It's something that comes up with you a lot. So do it. Start.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to continue that. Sometimes I go back and forth, and I think I just want to like forget it all and just move on and do something else. But yeah, I was curious about I was like, I wonder what he means by that. But
just generic talking in riddles.
Okay.
So what makes you want to, like, do you think you could forget all about it and just leave it all behind? Do you think that's possible?
I don't know. It's crazy. I lots of times I can go, but then sometimes it helps. It's sometimes I need to go back, and it's almost like therapy. Like I need to go back and hear people out. When I hear people like on Reddit or Facebook or whatever, and I hear people say their stuff, and I'm like, oh, okay, so it's not just me. And it's sometimes you feel like it's just me going through this, or I'm thinking this stuff, and it's not. It's like so many people are feeling the exact same way, going through almost identical situations. And then it's almost like, even though it's sad because we're both hurting, but it's like misery loves company, I guess, because it's like, oh, okay, I'm not alone. Like a lot of people are feeling this too. So I don't know, it's kind of weird. But then I'm like good, and then I go off and I start. But then every once in a while I need to go back and like, I don't know, it's kind of weird. even with my family, my siblings, sometimes we talk about it, sometimes we don't. And so sometimes I feel like I talk about it too much sometimes. So with them, and they say I don't, but yeah, it is something. I mean, it's just barely not even a year yet since I mentally like woke up from it. So after 39, almost 40 years of your whole life, I think it is going to take some time to overcome that. It's kind of it's not a normal thing. I was listening to this. There was a video today of a doctor, psychologist, and she came up with the term religious trauma syndrome. And she had like a bunch of things, and she said something really cool. She said that she's like, "Welcome to life. Like welcome to the planet. Welcome to humanity. You're now a part of the human family. We were always here. Now you can mentally be a part of us. We're out here doing things. We're out here trying to make the world a better place. You can get involved with us if you want. You can help us out. Be part of, I don't know, something about that." She said like, "Welcome to the family. Like this planet, we're all a human family. Welcome to it." You were isolated mentally from us. Now you're here. It's like, welcome. I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah, it's beautiful, man. You've been here all along, but now you realize it.
Yeah. Yeah. There's just a side point. On November 13th, Leah Remini just came out. Leah Remini is going to be doing documentary. Did you see about that? Hear about that? Yeah.
You excited about it?
Kind of, because it's like my family watched it when it was about Scientology, and they were like, "Oh yeah, like they totally were in agreement. Yeah, it's totally cool." Well, now, will they watch this? I don't know. I would hope so, but I kind of get the feeling they won't, because there's going to be ex-witnesses interviewed there, stuff, so they won't listen to it. But they would listen to it when it was talking about Scientology. So I don't know, it's kind of weird, yeah. When you would listen to one thing, the same lady talk about one thing, you'll listen to it and agree with it, but not when it's talking about your own group.
Oh, well, it's different when it's Jehovah God.
Is it really that different?
It's not a space alien, man. Come on, get with it. It's a bearded sky daddy. It's totally different. It's not the same. I just want to say one thing that I've noticed about ex-Jehovah's Witnesses in general, and how you differ in this key point. Like frequenting subreddits like XJW and then some of the Facebook groups, like there are people who leave the Jehovah's Witnesses, but it never actually leaves them. It becomes like their central sort of, everything revolves around them. They become anti-JW, and that's like their identity, right? So they went from being a JW, that was their identity, to now I'm against them, right? Whereas one of the things that's always kind of like caught me by surprise with you is that you already have so many other interests beyond just that. Like that's one thing that you obviously are passionate about, or that you, like you said, you need to go back to it. It's something that you can't quite shake completely. And not that I think you should in any case, but what I was going to say is that, it's only unhealthy if that becomes your identity. And from what I can tell with you, it just seems like it's just one facet of you, and you're kind of like discovering all these other facets that exist, right? So, so if that's one of your fears, is that like you just don't want to be stuck in this and become that kind of person that's just rooted in, anti-JW, that's my identity. Like I don't see that happening with you. I feel like you have so many different interests outside of that you're already exploring. Like I was watching your podcast with this Hypercane cat that you filmed there a while back. Yeah. And you guys were talking about like psychedelics and like all these different things. And it was just like, dude, the XGW thing is just a footnote for Andy. It's just this thing that's like, oh yeah, less than a year ago I was part of a cult. I'm done with that shit. Now I'm rolling with this stuff. And it's just like, it's beautiful, man. You're in like, and so for me, it's like, you're a shining example for that community of XJWs, because there are so many of them who are just stuck and they have a lot of negative feelings and they don't have anything else to channel, right? Whereas you've bounced already back and you're already exploring all these different things, and you're fully open-minded now. Whereas before you were very sort of narrow, right?
Well, it's hard. It's hard though, because for certain people, because I have it pretty easy, right? I have 4 siblings that are not out of it, so I have immediate support from them. I reached out to people that were supportive, like you were one of them I reached out to, and I got that support I needed. But a lot of people have no family. They've lost all their family. They haven't reached out, or they don't know that they can reach out, so they feel completely alone. A lot of people's lives have been dramatically affected. Like, I was never sexually abused, but a lot of people were sexually abused in this cult, in this religion, and they can't get the justice for it. A lot of people's family members actually committed suicide because of it. I've heard so many people have lost their family. Either they've lost their kids, or they've lost their parents, or their siblings to this cult, because and then they'll say, apologists will say, well, that's not the cult thing. That was just some mental disability or something with that person, individual. But no, not when you look at the statistics and see that they're one of the highest ratio of people, like suicides in the population of people in this religion, and the amount of suicides that there are from people that are either still in it or that have left. It's one of the biggest, suicide rates. So yeah, there's a lot of people that have been affected. Like, I haven't. So I feel like I have it pretty easy, and I feel like than a lot of people. So a lot of people, it's harder for them to move on. And therapy would be great if we could, like, you could get therapists that know about it already. It's hard because a lot of, like, when I went to a couple of therapists, and I had to tell them everything, like explain the whole thing to them, because they didn't know anything about. They just thought, oh yeah, Jehovah's Witnesses just those nice people that come knocking your doors. They had no idea about the ins and outs of the whole thing. So yeah, it's a very not well known, like, with a lot of groups, are not real well known. I probably Scientology wasn't really well known until a lot of this stuff started coming out about it. I don't know, but
well, that's how they can get away with it, right? Yeah, I think they have to be secretive to some extent, and how they get people into it as well is very, not sinister, but like Scientology. I remember reading the first book that L. Ron Hubbard published on that, and thinking, wow, this stuff makes a lot of sense. There's no aliens, there's no crazy stuff. It's like he's giving you practical insights, and it's a little wonky, but the stuff made sense to me. And so they start with the stuff that's either alluring or positive and easy to digest, and then they slowly feed you bigger and bigger things, and eventually they get to things that just are totally malarkey. So that's standard procedure, right? Otherwise, if you went straight to the space aliens or whatever, people would be like, come on, seriously?
yeah.
It's so ruthless though. But so let me just circle back. Like I said at the beginning of my little diatribe there, that's an observation about ex-Jehovah's Witnesses. It's not a judgment, right? I just want to make that clear. I'm not blaming them or saying that they need to move on. But what you just said just drives that point home even more. Sexual trauma, psychological abuse, all the stuff that you talked about, being controlled. If people go through that and they can't move on, they need help, right? But that's where I think you're perfectly suited for that, because you were able to not move on, but integrate it into your life and continue just expanding your life and exploring different things, and you're moving forward. You're not stuck, right? And maybe it is because you had it easier. Maybe it's because you just have the right mindset or whatever. But regardless, that's a gift, and you can give that gift to others who are struggling more than you, right? And so for me, it's like, that's like the ultimate, like the Jehovah's Witnesses pride themselves on being good and holy and all that stuff. But to me, that would be a true, like, holy cause, to help people out of that pain and misery, and to share your experiences with them and to show them that there's a way past it, is like, holy crap, what a calling that would be.
I think about, like, Leah Remini, I think, like, man, she is such a strong person. She, like, doesn't care about what nobody thinks about her. She's getting a lot of crap from all this stuff from her own former religion, cult, but she just doesn't give a crap. And, like, that's really cool. I admire people like that, and she's been helped a lot. I mean, dude, her thing helped me. It was one of the things that helped wake me up when I saw that thing, so with my own thing. So I think about that, like, she would love to just move on and live her life. She's like, she'd love, I heard her interview one time. She's like, she would love to just go make movies, make TV shows, and just be an actress and not do these documentaries and stuff. But she feels like this calling, like she feels like this need to there's a lot of hurting people that are still mentally stuck in it, and it's like so I don't know, I respect people like that. It's like, oh.
Well, and there's a lot of different ways to do that too, right? I mean, you don't have to be a famous person. You don't have to attack the Jehovah's Witnesses to help former Jehovah's Witnesses, right? There's other ways, more compassionate ways and stuff. And, you seem to be like interested in psychology and stuff. It's like, dude, becoming a therapist or a counselor or whatever, like, who knows, right? I'm just saying, like, instead of resisting it and trying to force yourself to move past it, I would look at it as maybe an opportunity to do something really good and special for other people. How that plays out, you decide, obviously, but there's something there for you, man. So many people, like you said, are hurting, and not just Jehovah's Witnesses, just people in general feel like they don't belong, they don't have a home, regardless of religion. So there's a lot of pain and hurt in the world right now, and anybody who wants to help with that, I think, is doing a noble thing. So
yeah. Well, so I kind of am grateful, because if I hadn't have been, it gives me a good perspective, of something that a lot of people would never know. So just like you have even you with your taste of it, you have a perspective of it that a lot of people don't. So, if it can teach us if we can learn things from it, I think that's we have to be grateful for some things. Even we can learn stuff from everything, right?
mm-hmm.
all the crap we go through, we can still learn.
You have to. That's you go through the crap whether you want to or not, but you choose whether you learn from it, right? And how you regard that experience in hindsight. So, but you, like I said, you're doing awesome, man. Every time I talk to you, every time I see something about you on Facebook or like those videos you did, I was just like, I'm just so happy to see that you're out there and you're just doing stuff. You're living your life, man. You're not stuck. You're hustling. You still got like 3 jobs?
I just got hired at the post office too. So
nice.
Yeah, so I'll be a mailman now.
Oh, good. Is that sounds like I don't know about where you're at, but in Canada, that's a pretty good job, like benefits and that sort of thing, right?
Yeah.
Oh, man, congratulations. That's great.
Early retirement stuff. I don't know that it's not like my passion. I don't know if it's something I want to, but it's definitely a good job, good benefits and stuff, stability. But I don't know. But I think what would be kind of fun. This is totally off subject. We're going way off on tangents, but
I love those.
It'd be kind of fun to be like, I think the ultimate job, I don't know how you get started, but to be like a photographer, be like a travel photographer, travel around the world, take pictures for like National Geographic or something, or
that'd be a sweet gig.
Yeah.
Well, you start, dude, go take a class, man. I don't know. That's what I would do. 'Cause you can just take pictures, buy a nice camera and kind of figure it out on your own, but getting the basics down, it's so much easier to just have somebody who's good or who knows what they're doing, just teach you the basics, and then you can go from there, right?
Yeah.
You live in a pretty photo-friendly place, my friend. You would be well poised to...
It makes it really easy. It's not too hard to just find something to take a picture of,
Yeah, you can basically just go outside, turn 360 degrees, stop anywhere, take a picture, and it's probably pretty damn nice.
It was like just right out my door here. That's where I took the picture of the passion fruit flowers and stuff. It's like right out my door.
Is it light out at your place? Is it still daytime, or because you're a couple hours early, right?
It's like it's the sun went down already. It's just kind of like that. Yeah. It's like 10 after 6. So
we'll have to do an outside episode one of these days too, so I can see your hood.
I know. I was actually thinking about that. I Skype when I was Skyping. It's the only problem is the connection, trying to like keep a connection going. But I was Skyping with this couple from Australia, and I was down at my sister's cart. Like they wanted them to meet her pizza cart, and so they met her. And then like halfway down, we lost Skype connection. Like I put the camera on my car so they could see what I was driving. They could see me driving down the road. But a couple spots, it's kind of spotty, so lost connection. But yeah. Oh, you saw that one time I went down to the beach. We were talking, right?
Yeah.
A little bit, yeah.
And that's right by your place, right?
Yeah, it's like 2 blocks. Yeah.
Nice. You're down there lots, aren't you?
With the what?
Are you down there lots? Do you go down to the beach lots?
Oh, I tried to. I just went 2 days. Let's see. Yesterday I went stand up paddling for the first time.
Nice.
Yeah,
How was
that
it?
was it was fun. It was it's hard, like the balancing and stuff. But I never fell, which they said most people fall, so that was good. But I don't know, being out there like far from shore on this thing, and you're looking down, it's real clear. You can see like the reef below you and stuff. But I have a really bad fear of sharks, so that's constantly in my head. I cannot get that thought out of my head. It's like I want to just relax and not be scared, but I just can't. It's a mental thing. I can't get it out of my head that there's these like huge creatures with sharp teeth below me swimming around.
But it's true. I mean, they're in the area, so I don't know that you necessarily want to relax and let your guard down.
They were like the people that were teaching me, they're like so shocked. They're like, wow, you never fell. Like most people fall the first time. You never fell once. And I was like, I didn't want to fall. I didn't want to get in the water. Like
Fear is a good motivator to stay keeping your balance.
yeah. But it was good. It was good though. It's good to get out there and try new stuff and even things you're afraid of, and just good distractions. There's a lot of good things, a lot of cool, good, healthy stuff in life that we can do and helps kind of distract us from stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I think even going back every once in a while and binging out on some JW videos, I think that's good for you too, man. It's cathartic. And it's funny that you say that, because like I go through phases as well with that, where I'm like, I'll be on the subreddit lots and I'll be like reading people's stories. And, like the other day I was watching this one YouTuber, I think her name's like Hannah Beth. She did this one video and it was like, fuck, man, it's heartbreaking, but I want to stay connected to it because I feel connected to it. And I I was talking to a friend of mine at church the other day, and I was like, man, we should do like outreach to people who are leaving cults. You know what I mean? Like we should like invite them to our church and tell them like, this is the opposite of where you came from. Here you get to decide your truth, and we're just here to support you. Like I feel like a lot of people coming out of an organization like Scientology or fundamentalist Mormons or Jehovah's Witnesses would benefit from having a place like that. Like I've seen it and I want to help people. And so for me, it's like, yeah, I go through phases where I'm like, yeah, it's time. I'll like do some research, or I'll see what the latest scandal is. Like I'll avoid it for a long time. And then I'm like, nah, I'm going in, so I don't know why, but it's similar to you from the sounds of it.
It's kind of funny. Lately I've been wanting to reach out. I've been really interested in hearing people's stories from other cults and other high control groups. So like I heard Joe Rogan do a podcast with this girl that was from the
Westboro Baptist.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah. And then I was listening to like a lot of stories of like Mormons, ex-Mormons that left. There was just a bunch of them. There was the what are they called? The Plymouth Brethren, Exclusive Brethren, another group of people that left telling their stories, and such similar. I'm kind of like surprised at how similar these things are. Like they have different doctrines, but the similarities in the control tactics of what they do is so similar. Like they have different words for things, of course, but yeah. So that I've been reaching out to people like that, and that's what it's kind of interesting. Like it's not just Jehovah's Witnesses. It's like all these other ones that are, I don't know. I can't even call them. I don't know if I would even call them religions, because they're so. When I think of religions, I think of like things that are harmless. People just believing in something, living a life a certain way, but it doesn't hurt them or their families or anything. But I don't call these other things religions because they wreck with people's lives. They mess with people's lives and their families and stuff. So I don't know. Like this one guy that same thing. He's like an apostate from the Mormon church. And he started studying with the witnesses after he became an apostate with the Mormons. And these witnesses showed up at his door. And he's like, well, I don't know anything about the witnesses. I'll see what they got to say. And then he would like go to the assemblies that we'd have and stuff. And he'd be like, wait, this is just recycled Mormonism. It's the same thing. So it's so true, man. It's like, there's so many similarities, and he's lost all his family, just like, him and his wife lost all their families. because they left, but
I'm
messed
starting to
up.
think that everybody has two families in life, you know, the family you don't choose and then the family you choose, I think.
That's very true. Yeah, I totally agree with that.
Because
Yeah.
I mean, I still have a big family, but most of the people in it are not my blood relatives, you know.
Mm, that's so true. That's what my sister says too. Yeah.
That's
Yep.
my experience, anyways. You don't pick your parents, like, you know. I think being loyal to your family is important, but who you keep in your family and who you throw out is entirely up to you. You know, like
Yeah.
whoever you decide to keep in your inner circle, you should definitely be loyal and to them and be there for them. But if things go a certain way and you have to shun, you know, excommunicate or disfellowship a member of your family, that has, you know, sometimes that has to happen, right? It's kind of
Yeah.
weird, but you
And
didn't
that's what
choose your
I
parents.
exactly. I'm learning that. I'm learning that you know, I had this idea of family and love in my head growing my whole life. And I realize I'm now learning that what I thought was love wasn't real love. Like, you know, not unconditional love, because love is should be unconditional. And then I'm learning about, you know, family is like you just said, it's who sticks with you through the good and bad times, not just if you know, when they disagree with you, so all of a sudden you're kicked out of their life. That's, you know, so yeah, it's like I'm able to talk with you and people that I've met like you that are, I feel, you know, I thought I was pretty close to my brothers, really close to my brothers. But as I have conversations with you, people like you and stuff, I'm realizing like I'm talking with you guys completely as myself, and you let me be who I am and let me say what I want without any fear of judgment or guilt. And that's amazing. That's a closer way of being able to talk to someone than I ever thought I had with my brothers. And I thought we were close. So yeah, I'm learning what like real family and real love is. It's amazing. Beautiful.
So with your brothers, you like, are you saying that when you had conversations with them or interactions with them, there was some fear of judgment or some fear of like, was there discomfort there all the time and you just thought that was normal?
I guess I think it's just not just with my family, but I think it's just in general in that group in general, you're always self-conscious about what you say and how you act, and you don't ever want to, if you say a slightly off-color joke or something, there's a fear of like, oh well, that was a little dirty. You shouldn't have said that. You know, there's been a few times when I said something like just a little slightly like off-color, maybe a little, and I got yeah, or just things about yeah, there's always a fear of being judged, always this fear of judgment and guilt, and but not having to have that fear anymore and just being who you are, and people can like you or not, they can be like, well, that was dumb, whatever, but like, you know, I don't know, it's different, it's hard to explain, but yeah, but it's not like that, you know, I can say whatever to you and you don't care, you could agree with me or not agree with me, but you're like, it's not going to affect how you feel about me. Like whatever.
No, man. I've been talking to my wife about going to Maui. I'm like, we got to go visit Andy. So you're not going to offend me, man. Like, I get what you're saying. Like, I feel close to you, even though I've never met you. And, you know, there's a certain connection that you can have with people that doesn't depend on, you know, your family or anything. It's like a, you know, not to sound cheesy, but it's like spiritual kinship. Like, I feel like we're soul brothers. You
Yeah,
know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
talking to you, some of the experiences that you've had, like even though we're not in the same, I was never in the group. I feel like we've had very similar experiences with regards to it and our sort of opinions about it. And the you know, like I don't have any hate for them, and you don't seem like you have any hate for them. And it seems like we're both
Not at
coming
all.
from a similar place. And yeah, man, that's pretty cool
Oh
that
yeah,
we found each
no,
other.
no hate at all. I that's what I want to. I want to love everybody. I love Jehovah's Witnesses. I want them to be happy, and I know that how much happier I am now. I know that they think that they're happy. They have this saying that they use, the best life ever. That's this little quote that they use for themselves, and they have no idea. Like if they once they mentally get at how good life actually can be, how you can actually just enjoy your family and enjoy life and enjoy, yeah, there's bad things in life. We go through crap in this life. There's stuff going on politically and environmentally and stuff, but we're doing our best to deal with that stuff. But um it's not like yeah, it's not this constant fear and dread. Like when I left, I remember a lot of people kept telling me, a lot of my family members kept saying, we're so close, kept the Armageddon fear kept coming up. We're so close. You don't know how close we are. Like, this is not the time, this is Satan wanting you to leave. And right when we're at the end of times, it's like, well, the end of times have been since the late 1800s. I've been constantly saying the end of times, but yeah, so it's, life is good outside of it. I want them to experience that too. I know our families love us, and like, just like your parents, how much happier they could be. They could have their son and daughter-in-law and grandkids in their life, right? They would be so happy and not be stuck in this fear, cult,
Yeah.
doomsday cult.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I'd love to have my parents in my life too. It'd be awesome to like, I didn't have grandparents because my parents moved us across the entire country. And they eventually, my grandparents were back, back east, and they died. Right. So I never had a relationship with any of my grandparents, and it wasn't like an option for me. And now I feel like, unfortunately, that I'm repeating that cycle to some extent. Like, my kids aren't going to have a relationship with their grandparents on that side of the family, but, um,
It's not your
yeah,
fault though.
well, it's not even about fault. It's not their fault either. That's the thing, right? It's not their
Yeah.
fault. It's not my fault. It's, we can't even say it's the Jehovah's Witnesses' fault. It's just the situation we're in right now, and a bunch of factors, most of which are probably unknown to all of us, led us to this moment. And it's like, we're all doing the best we can, and this is the best that I can do for all of us, is to separate it, right? Um, but
That brings up a good point. Like, so yeah, so kind of expanding from not just Jehovah's Witnesses, but expanding to all these different Muslims, um, I've heard of people who've left Muslims. They're not just in fear of losing their family, but a lot of them are fear of losing their life.
yeah,
So it's like, some are like pretty hardcore, but all just the situation we're in right now on this planet, like, how did we get here to where there's all these groups and sects of different religious cults and stuff where we're so divided and we should be united? What caused us to get to this spot where we're so divided by all these things? I don't
yeah.
know.
Jeez. Yeah, dude, that could be a very long discussion in and of itself. I got lots of theories. I can speculate, but I don't know, man. All I know is we got to keep moving forward, because if we stay stalled in this sort of um, paradigm that we're in now for much longer, it's going to be the end of us. And so, it's always interesting. I think it's important to figure out how we got here so we can get out of this mess. But, ultimately, it's, who knows? Who knows how we got here? It's pretty wild when you think about it. If you believe the science, it's 200,000 years ago. We were just fucking scratching our balls, hunting, picking berries, and then even 10,000 years ago, that's what we were doing. And then from 10,000 years to now, we're freaking going into space. We're sending stuff to asteroids to get samples. Like, we did that in a really short time. This is like the Twilight Zone on this planet. We're weird. Like, humans are weird, man. We're weird creatures.
Yeah, yeah, I know. It's crazy when you think about that, huh? It's like, but I think though, I don't know. I think there's a shift happening. I think people are leaving religion, not spirituality, but they're leaving religions. And like, this next generation coming up, your kids, when they get older, and all the people their age and stuff, I think religion is kind of a dying thing as far as like organized religion. I don't think it's going to last for another 100, 200 years, right?
Yeah, I have a different theory on that. I think that religion is a necessary piece of the puzzle. And I think that part of the problem that we're experiencing right now is the fact that people are leaving religion in huge numbers, and there's nothing else to fill that void. So I think that religion fulfills a really important purpose, or spirituality, let's say, fulfills an important purpose in human existence. And historically, spirituality was obtained through religions, churches, et cetera, et cetera. But then obviously, developments in technology and science, we've realized that a lot of the stuff that was being peddled by some of these religions is false, inaccurate, right? And so now people are leaving it. They're throwing the baby out with the bathwater, right? They're going, oh, it's all nonsense, right? And now they're losing this spiritual dimension in their lives. They're not, it's like they leave it behind and they lose access to it. And without it, life is two dimensional. It's fucking boring. It's flat. It's meaningless. Things don't taste good. Nothing is fun. And you just have this craving for something you don't understand. And so you buy shit and you get more money and nothing works. So you get more and then you end up dying rich and miserable, right? It's like there's that dimension of life that needs to be honored and engaged with. And unfortunately, religion was the best way to get to that in the past. Now, what are we going to replace that with?
Well, that brings us around good to the subject of synchronicity, because because I don't know what the answers are, but there's something like, I mean, you heard it when I was talking to Jessere in that video, right?
Is that Hypercane?
Yeah, that was his name, but he changed his channel name again to something else. But
okay.
But now it's Twin Dragon Productions. It's new.
Cool.
But yeah, it's like, yeah, I left a belief system that I don't believe in anymore, and yeah, there was a void, and at first I was like, well, I don't. And that's always our thing too, is if you leave this, if this isn't the truth, if this isn't, then what is? Like, what else do you have? And so I don't, it's like, I don't know yet. I don't have the answers. And I think I think as soon as you know something, it's like you think you know something, you're wrong. Because I think being able to not know, just being open, having your mind open to anything could be possible, is where it should be. Because I don't think anybody knows for sure about anything. But just a few little things, like you said, it makes life interesting when you experience stuff yourself, or you hear other people's experiences. Like the whole thing with synchronicity, there's so many things in life which, yeah, it could just be coincidences, but man, there's a whole heck of a lot of coincidences that seem like there's so many that it can't just be coincidences. I don't know. And I don't know. It's kind of interesting. Like it's almost on a daily basis, I will come across these different coincidences, little small things too, that just seem like insignificant, but there's so many on a daily basis that, like, what is going on? This is weird. Is this like makes you think that there's got to be something more than what we think, right?
That's that third dimension I was telling you about. That's the spiritual dimension, my friend. That's the dimension that that connects us all, so that you and I could find each other, even though we live however many thousands of miles apart. Because the spiritual dimension doesn't work like time and space, right? You get what I'm saying? Like, we might be distant in terms of time and space. You might be far away from me physically, but spiritually we're one. And that's what brings people together. And that's how sometimes someone, you're like, oh man, I haven't talked to, so-and-so in a while. And then they call you, right? Like those types of little things, right? Insignificant coincidence, obviously. But if we're all one and we can tap into that dimension where that unity is manifest, then is it really a coincidence? You were just thinking about yourself in a different body, and then you decided to call yourself. You know what I mean? Like, it's not. Here's something that Carl Jung said. He said, synchronicity is an ever-present reality for those who have eyes to see. In other words, it's everywhere, but if you don't have the eyes to see it, you don't realize it's there. Now, your eyes are open. You see it all over the place, right? It was always there. It's just you weren't looking for it. That's what he says anyway.
Yeah.
What do you think of that?
I think it's pretty cool. It's like, I want to know the answers to everything, right? But it's just like it just makes you wonder, like, what is it? Like, what is causing all this, I told you in the video comment, I think it's the Truman Show. I think it's the Ollie Show. It's the Ollie Show.
Oh man, I was telling my friends the other night, I'm like, I'm not real. I'm just a figment. I'm part of the simulation. I was telling my friends, they were a little tipsy. I was like, we were talking about simulation theory and how, what if this is a simulation? I was like, guys, are you ready? It is a simulation. I'm part of it. I'm not real. You guys want to stop it? You want to turn it off and start it up again? Like, you want to hit the reset button? And they were like, shut up. No, man, I don't have any of the answers. And I think that's, you nailed it earlier. You said, like, as soon as you know something, it's kind of like you're wrong, right? And then this guy Greg, who comments on a lot of my videos, his big thing is no belief is true. Just kind of the same thing, right? As soon as you believe something with all your heart, it's like, no, it's a belief can be useful. A belief can be more accurate or more valid than another, right? I mean, there's definitely varying degrees of sort of accuracy, but ultimately, no belief is 100% true. And just like no fact is 100% factual. It might be true now, but wait a couple days, or wait a year, or wait 1,000 years, or 1,000,000 years, and then it won't be true anymore.
Yeah. There's have you ever seen those people that are colorblind, and then they put on those special glasses that are made for them, and they can see colors for the first time? Have you seen those?
No, I
Yeah.
gotta see it.
Yeah, it's the special glasses that they've come up with. Like, technology is amazing how they can come up with this stuff, but they're called, like, I think they're called Chromecasts or something, but they're special glasses they put on, sunglasses. And when they put them on, colorblind people can see what we see. So they're like, they've lived their whole life not knowing what, or they see the shades of different colors, but not like how we see it. When they put those glasses on, they're like, oh, the grass is like really green, or the sky is like really blue. It's like, it's amazing. It gets emotional for them and stuff. But in a way, it's kind of like, their whole life, their basis of beliefs and everything was based on what they knew. And then someone gives them this little thing they put on their eyes, and then like opens their eyes up, their mind is like, whoa, this is what life is. There's like all these colors everywhere. It's kind of amazing.
And that's just like 1% of the full spectrum of light. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The colors that we see, there's so much that we don't see. We see like a sliver, and then the rest is invisible to our dull eyes. Yeah, it's pretty cool. And that, I think that's a powerful metaphor or analogy, what you described there about the glasses, right? Like, the world is one way, and then all of a sudden you have access to a device and you see the world in a totally different way. You can do that with beliefs and perspectives and mantras, right? If you repeat the same thing over and over again, eventually it's like those glasses are going to stay on and the world is going to stay being colored. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, it becomes like part of your normal mode of operation, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and how does someone like that, who doesn't have an experience of color, like, how do they even conceptualize it? Like, everybody else is talking about, like, oh, red. It's like, oh, I can't see red. What does red look like? It's red. Like, what do you say, right?
Well, I worked with a guy that was colorblind. He could see shades he could see like shades of color, like shades of red and stuff, but not. So I like, well, how do you drive? Like, the traffic signals are red light, red and green. And he's like, well, I know when it's lit on the top and the bottom and the middle, but they look a little different. The red is like kind of a darker red, and the green is like kind of a lighter red or something. But yeah, so they can live life, they can get by, but yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it is pretty crazy.
What are some? I was curious when you wanted to talk about synchronicity and stuff. I was kind of curious about what things in your life personally have you experienced that you can remember, synchronistic stuff that you can share. It was pretty amazing.
Well, there's been lots. I think ever since I had that weird epiphany moment there a few years ago, it just basically just started there, and if I look back even further back now, I see that it started further back, but in earnest, it really started after that. And then it was like, everything from like just stumbling onto Marcus Aurelius, like right after, what were the odds that I would fall for that? And then just a lot of my sort of literary explorations were very much like that. Like, I'd discover stuff by accident, and it was like right in sync with everything that I had just experienced, and it was like, holy crap, right? So it was just, yeah, it just kept happening. And then, it just happens like you all the time. It's kind of hard to think of, specific instances, but, chance encounters with people, and chance encounters a lot with ideas and books and stuff like that, or on YouTube, discovering people that are talking about things. And it's just like, one discovery leads to the next, and then it just branches off, and it just keeps going, right? Yeah, it's just.
So what's the cause of all that? What do you think is the cause of all that?
Well, my friend Mark, who goes to my church, like I gave one of those talks, the first talk that I ever gave at this specific church back, I think last year. And at the end of my talk, I said, like, I'm a student. I'm just here sharing my experiences, and I hope that you guys will all teach me whatever wisdom you have, right? I'd love to talk about this stuff. Basically, it was like an open invite, like, come get me if you're into this stuff. And this elderly gentleman who's newer to the church, he came up and he was like, I think we need to have coffee. And I was like, let's do it. And so I've been, now we're good friends, and I've learned things about him and some of the experiences that he's had in his life. And again, so many parallels, just too many, right? And he says the same thing. He'll tell me all the time. He's like, oh, you just got to ask. He's like, just ask for it. You just have to be humble. Just ask for it, and you'll be led in the right direction, whatever that direction may be. He's always telling me that. And it's like, so I'm trying to do that more. I'm trying to be more open, and I'm trying to also be more like, I don't know how to say it. Like, I'm trying to more internalize and verbalize what I want, right? Not specifically like I want, $500,000. Like, no, like I want to help people. Like, you know what I mean? I want to play a role in this community. I want. And so I'm focusing on my intentions more while also just being open, because I don't know how it's going to present itself. I just know what I want. And so I got to be on the lookout for it. Right. And I think the more you do that, the more you start to see those things that were always there that you just didn't have the eyes to see. Right. Like Carl Jung said. But ultimately, it could just be nothing spiritual. It could just be the fact that when you think certain thoughts, you're programming yourself, and then you're going to notice things subconsciously, and you're going to be like, oh, what a coincidence. But it's just that you're subconsciously training yourself to look for certain things. Like, it could be totally mundane, right? It doesn't have to be anything special. It could just be, there could be a totally logical, non-spiritual explanation at work, is what I mean.
Or it could be the most craziest story that we don't even know yet.
Correct. Yes, it could be something else altogether. It could be the simulation. It's like, if you ever play video games, there's a lot, they have to force the story in the right direction. They can't just let you do whatever. So it's kind of like the same thing, right? You run a simulation, you got to have certain like storylines develop, if you will.
Yeah. Force
them together. Like, I don't know. I got some other quotes. Let's see what else they say about synchronicity. Deepak Chopra. Do you know who that guy is?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got like a mix. Personally, but no, I don't know him personally either. I find that people either love him or they think he's like a total charlatan.
I really like some of the stuff I've heard him, some of his quotes I've heard him say though.
Same. Yeah. There's like a Deepak Chopra bullshit generator online where you like go in and you type in some words and it will like spit out this like gibberish but pseudo deep statement, which I think is funny. But yeah, I don't really know much about him. He says synchronicity is choreographed by a great intelligence that lies at the heart of nature, and it's manifest in each of us through intuitive knowledge. So it's the intelligence at the heart of nature, and it's this intelligence that basically choreographs this whole cosmic dance, and we can access it through our own intuitive knowledge, which is kind of interesting.
It's weird that intuitive knowledge, it seems like there is something deep in us that we kind of feel, or we think we kind of like a vague memory, or we kind of like all kind of know something under the surface, but we can't really put our finger on it or describe it in words. I don't know. It seems like that, but again, maybe that's just me. But it seems like when I like talk to other people too, it seems like they would say similar stuff. It's like we knew. It's almost like we knew when we were babies or kids. We knew something, and then we just over time kind of forgot it or whatever.
Kind of like we ate. It's kind of like we ate from the fruit, and we had to leave the garden in a way.
Yeah, I think I told you this before, but talking about synchronicity too, I think I told you where, in the very beginning. So this was in December, when I was already waking up and hadn't even told my family yet. But I talked to my sister, just my one sister here. But I started reaching out to people, and I went on Facebook. I hadn't been on Facebook before. Went on Facebook, and I started just searching for people that I remember. So I remember there's these two teachers I had in elementary school and middle school that was like awesome teachers. I had so much respect for them. One teacher I had for 2 years in a row, and the other teacher I had for 3 years in a row. But I found both of them, and I connected with them, and they were like a huge support to me too. You know, they like, one of them said, when I told her the whole story, she's like, yeah, I always felt sorry for you. You know, you're that JW kid I had in my class that was kind of like the poor kid. I wanted you to be like the rest of the world, like the rest of the kids, but you know, she was respectful to my parents' beliefs and stuff too. But anyway, she sent me this book called The Celestine Prophecy. Have you heard of that?
I have.
I think I told you about this before, huh?
Yeah, but we didn't record it, so this is better now.
Oh, but it was just interesting how in that book, as I'm reading it, you know, it's a story, like a fictional story and stuff. It's written that way, but so many cool things in there that as I'm reading it, first, there's two definite things. First of all, I'm reading, or right after a phone call with my mom, one of the last, you know, phone calls where she's telling me that she says, I've been duped. She used the word, I've been duped by the devil. Those were her exact words for my mom, something like that. And then right after that phone call, I start reading again in the book, and I get to this thing that says, it's talking about religion and how people in religion and stuff will say that people have been duped by the devil. And I was just like, whoa, that's a weird coincidence. It's the exact same words my mom just used, you know, something like that. And then a little while later on, it talks about how there's no such thing as coincidences. And it just sparked this memory in my head. Like when I was a kid, I can't remember what it was that triggered that thought. But for some reason, when I was a little kid, I remember telling myself, I don't ever want to forget this. I want to always remember that there's no such things as coincidences. I want to always remember that. And then as I grew up, over time, I forgot that I even had that thought until that I read it in that book, and it sparked that memory that I had forgotten about. And that made me wonder, like, what was it that made me think that? What was the situation? I can't remember the situation, but it's something made me want to remember that, and I can't remember what it was. But I just thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, that is.
It's kind of a weird coincidence.
Yeah, again, is it a coincidence? That's the question of the topic of the hour, if you will. Yeah, no, that's so crazy, man. You did tell me that story, but it's still, every time I hear it, it's like, geez, that's the classic textbook, I think, synchronicity. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't get any better than that. You said something about the intuitive sort of capacity, right? And how sometimes you just know something, you can't put it into words. I just remembered I had this one. I print off like a bunch of quotes on like a bunch of paper, and then I just like go through them, and then when I'm done, I like do a new document, and I just do it like that. And one of the quotes on here is from Albert Einstein, and he's saying that the intellect has little to do on the road to discovery. He says there comes a leap in consciousness, call it intuition or what you will, and the solution comes to you and you don't know how or why. So like he used to, when he'd get stumped by some problem in like the formulas and stuff that he was coming up with, he used to say like he'd go for a walk and it would just be like, boom. The moment he put it down and just went for a walk and stopped thinking about it, it would present itself to him. He said like all of his greatest discoveries were like that. He said all the work that he did was like the grunt work, and all the great breakthroughs were from who knows where.
Wow.
Cool, right?
Has that ever happened to you?
Well, I think so, yeah. I think that's kind of what that big triggering experience in 2013 was in some respects. Like I think I tapped into something, or I have that leap in consciousness that he calls it, and I couldn't put any of it into words. I still can't fully, but yeah, so I think that was one instance of it. And yeah, it does happen. There are times where I just have this thing, like last night I was in bed with my wife and I just was like, oh, I grabbed my phone and I'm like writing something, and she's like, what? And then she's looking over my shoulder and she's like, the hell does that even mean? Like I wrote, what did I write? You are a being versus you are being. And she's like, what are you talking about? And it was just this thing that popped into my head. And I was like, no, I just have to remind myself for tomorrow. This is something I got to like write out or think about. Right. And so, yeah, these things kind of like happen sometimes, but I think they come from again, similar to the synchronicity thing, it's like being open and filling your mind up with things that are of like kind and quality, right? That like attract things that are similar to themselves, right? Because if you have a bunch of conflicting ideas and beliefs in your head, you're going to be attracting chaos. But if you're more harmonious inside of yourself, then you're going to start like a magnet, right? You're going to start to attract some of these things, but they just come out of you. It's just like, it's there. I think we all have those, like you said, you all have those feelings, those gut feelings, or those, you just know it. And it's knowing when to trust it and when not to, right?
Maybe there's things that are dormant inside of us until we wake it up, and then it becomes active in our brains, and it's like these epiphanies or whatever that come to us. Maybe they've always been these dormant things inside of us that just need to be awakened or something. I don't know.
Yeah, like your memory of never forget this. There's no such thing as coincidences. You know what I mean? Like that was a dormant memory that was just laying there. It was there since it happened when you were a little kid, and it took that spark to bring it back to the surface, reawaken that pattern, right? Because it's just neurons firing, from what I understand. That's all it is, right? When you have a memory, you're redoing the same sort of pattern as when it happened, or trying to reconstruct the experience almost in your mind. But yeah, it is interesting. There's lots of stuff. Like that's what Jung's work on the unconscious was all about, right? All these things that you've repressed or forgotten, they're still there. You just can't access them.
Or maybe the universe is just one big brain, and our brains are just other universes.
Yeah, I can see that too, man. It's as within, so without, as above, so below, right? You could look at the planet as kind of there's all these different ways you can look at it. Like all the humans combined together, especially now with the internet and stuff, we basically are a brain. We're like a planetary neural network where we can eventually we'll all be connected, right? Or most of us are already connected, but one day maybe we'll all be connected. And then what's to distinguish really your mind from my mind if your thoughts just kind of present themselves to my phone or to my whatever device? Like, starting to lose the border between you and me, right?
What is that, singularity or something?
Yeah, that's like the futurists or the transhumanists, they talk about that a lot, like this moment in time where technology just develops at such a rapid pace that the world basically becomes an entirely new, totally unrecognizable place. Humans are totally transformed forever. Like it's like the next phase in our evolution, right?
Like AI is already taken over, but they just you don't even realize you're like a synthetic organism or something that they built. AI's in the future's built.
Yeah, maybe. Again, like I probably told you this before, I wouldn't be surprised. That's my favorite line. People tell me these conspiracy theories. I'm like, I wouldn't be surprised. Like reptiles, shape-shifting reptiles, yeah, I don't believe it, but if it happened, I'd be like, nah, yeah, I could see it. Why not?
Nothing will shock you, huh?
Yeah, I'm sure things would, but I don't know what they are. If they're out there and I've heard about them, they wouldn't shock me. Like, you know what I mean? Like 9/11's an inside job. Yeah. I don't necessarily think that's the case, but if they proved it, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, people do stupid things. They're messed up, there's not much that would really shock me at this point. But again, like, what do we know?
We know nothing.
I don't know much, man. I just know I don't know much. The universe as a brain and like nature as a mind, like why not, man? I can see it. It's a good metaphor and it makes sense. I mean, what is nature?
You've heard those, which is kind of true, certain trees that are all connected underground with their roots.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They're kind of existing as like one huge organism, but they're all separate trees and stuff.
Yeah.
Something like that. But hey, I think it's kind of cool how when you that's why I love all your videos and stuff, how you find quotes and stuff, and then you're kind of like SpongeBob. You're kind of like a sponge. You soak up all these things that you like, and then but when you dispense them out, but then you add your own stuff with it too. So we get what you've gotten, and then we get a little more extra from you too, like how you That's quite awesome.
Oh, well, thank you, man. I'm glad you think so. Like I said, sometimes I think it's awesome. Sometimes I'm like, I should have just stopped talking 2 minutes ago. I should have just never made this video. But it's part of the process. Get it out there, and it belongs to the universe. It's not mine anymore. I don't have to worry about it, you know.
I love it. I think it's great.
Well,
I think so.
I think it's great too, and I think it's great that I got to meet all kinds of awesome people through it. You know, I think that's probably the best thing that's come out of this whole channel is like yourself and Greg and all these other people that I never would have connected with otherwise. Is that a synchronicity, right? I mean, I don't know. People were finding each other. I'm finding, I'm meeting people on this channel all the time, and it's like I'm attracting my tribe. You know what I mean? I'm putting the signal out there. I'm putting the bat signal out there, and Batman's coming, right? Like that's kind of what
Yeah.
happens, right? I mean, you put it out there, and people who are into it will pick it up. And if it's, it doesn't matter if it's 4 people or 100 people or whatever. It makes no difference. It's like
Yeah.
it's 4 people I didn't have before, and I'm glad to have you guys. You know,
Yeah. That's awesome, man.
it's good times.
Okay. What's the next one?
Oh, I think I got like maybe 1 or 2 more. Hang on.
Are you sure? I saw pages and pages of stuff there.
Well, it's not all synchronicity. I mean, I gotta save some for the Daily Bread videos, my friend.
Oh, okay.
This is my material for the next little while, you know. There was one that he said that was kind of interesting. I'm just looking for it right now. So the problem of synchronicity has puzzled me for a long time. Ever since the mid-20s when I was investigating the phenomena of the collective unconscious and kept on coming across connections which I simply could not explain as chance. What I found were coincidences, in air quotes, which were connected so meaningfully that their chance concurrence would represent an improbability that would have been expressed by huge numbers. Like 1 in a trillion would be the odds, you know what I mean? So, it's like you just keep finding those coincidences in your life, and there's so many of them that what are the odds that it's just a coincidence?
Who said that? Where was that quote from?
That was Carl Jung as well.
Oh, okay.
He dealt a lot with the topic of synchronicity. It was one of his big sort of themes or topics that he was interested in. So I went to him because he's my boy. But yeah, it's interesting, right? I mean, if you had to calculate the odds, even those little, the story that you just told me about, the Celestine prophecy, and like the exact word choice minutes after your mother said it to you on the phone, and you fall right into exactly what you needed to hear at that moment, which is, yeah, no shit, she did that. That's a common trait of people who are in religion. You know what I mean? Like, what are the odds of that? Like, how?
Yeah, there's another thing that you said before too that was, which might have something to do with it a little bit. Maybe part of the reason why there's so many synchronicities or something. I don't know, but how you said before how we're all kind of the same. So especially, I mean, we're all the same. We have so many things in common with we're all humans. We have that in common. But even when you like I was saying this to Jessica, just when you meet somebody, you meet certain people you can meet and you're like, yeah, it's whatever. But certain people you meet and even if you just met them for the first time, which is how like it was with you and Jessica and certain ones I've met. But it's like I feel like there's something weird, like I've known you before, something familiar about you, and it's weird when you meet people like that, when you come across people like that. And I think maybe that goes back to what you were saying, how that's because we're all pretty much the same underneath it all. We're seeing ourselves in these people. That's why it seems familiar. I don't know. I think you were saying something about that before, and that kind of makes sense. Like,
I don't know if I've said it, but you said it nicely. I agree with you. I think that's essentially what it is, man. And some people that let's say there's just one self dressed up as all these different people, right? And in some people, it's really buried deep under all these layers of like misconceptions and notions of who they think they are, right? And in other people, for whatever reason, it can shine through a bit more. And I think that's what you recognize in others, is that portion of yourself that is just the exact same in everyone, because everybody has that little nucleus that's just, it's just a presence, man. It doesn't have a name. It's a will. It's a force, right? It's just, there's nothing you call it. And when you bring your mind to complete silence, either through meditation or with the use of substances, whatever you got to do, all the thoughts stop, but you're still there. And that's that thing that it doesn't identify. It's just this presence, right? And so I think the more you can strip away the bullshit and the more you can let that shine through, the more you'll recognize it in others and the more they'll recognize it in you. Whether they know that that's what they recognize or not makes no difference. It just...
Don't you think that's why stand-up comedians have a job? Because they're saying stuff that's funny, but they're saying stuff that people get. They're just being real. They're saying stuff that everybody already feels and thinks on the inside, but these guys are just saying out loud. And they're like, yeah, that's right. You know, that's why comedians have a job, because they're putting out there what we all are kind of this, or we're all the same, you know, where it's like looking in a mirror. We're all looking, you know.
Yeah. And it's like, sometimes it's like things that are totally inappropriate or raunchy or whatever. And it's like, we've all thought it and been embarrassed. And then this stand-up comic will go up there and just lay it out. And it's just like, everyone feels that embarrassed laughter in the room, you know, like, yeah, I've felt that way before.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Yeah. That's what the best stand-ups are all about, man. And like, I feel like the best stand-ups are almost like modern day philosophers in some ways, you know, like Joe Rogan, for example. Like if you watch some of his stand-up, it's like, he'll take you deep, man. He's, you know, the thing you just said actually about, you know, how if you recognize yourself in others and stuff, like he did this one stand-up special. I can't remember when, but he had a bit about, doing mushrooms, magic mushrooms, and being around dolphins and having this realization of like, you know, like dolphins are so smart, and like, whoa, what if this dolphin is like, you know, like the Joe Rogan dolphin, and and then he was like, wait, what if everybody I meet is just another me, right? And it's like, this is a stand-up special, but he's talking about deep, profound truths, right? And doing it in such a way that's hilarious, and people just started applauding. It wasn't even laughter. It was just like, at the end of this little bit, people just started fucking clapping for him. And it's like, yeah, there's something to it, man. They're not scared to go out there and let it all hang out and to say the things that we don't want to say, for good or bad, right? And I think that's, you're right, man. That's why they have a job.
I think that's it right there. That's why people are connected to you through your videos, because you just get out there and you say, you don't hold back from just being real. What's it? Vulnerability. You're not scared of putting out your vulnerability out there, you know. It's like, so it kind of goes back to not having self-doubt and, you know, just being who you are, just saying what's real, and then it's gonna resonate with people, and it's gonna, if everybody starts doing that more, I think it would be kind of cool.
Just being authentic and not worrying about what people are going to think, right? I mean, yeah, like, and that's what you touched on earlier. You're like, I don't really care anymore what they think, you know. They think you're an apostate or that you've been duped by the devil or whatever. Well, guess what, Andy? My dad said that I work for the devil. You've been duped by him. I'm his employee. Let's partner up, buddy.
Not only do you work for the devil, but now you're talking to an apostate. Dude, you got some problems, man.
Yeah, well, I'm hanging out in the best circles. What can I say? Even long before I became a spiritual person, I used to always joke that if I had a choice, I would always pick hell, because that's where the party's going to be. So, man, there's not going to be a lot of interesting people in heaven, man. I want to go see JFK. I want to hang out with Genghis Khan. Like, I got to go to hell. You know, there's nowhere else to go for me. So,
I don't know if any of that's accurate.
No, I don't think it is. That's why I joke. But if it is accurate and I, you know, die and wake up and I am in hell, I bet you there will be a party there. I bet you it'll be good times for people like me.
Okay, so on another little personal question, do you have any kind of, I know you said we don't know exactly anything for sure, but is there any kind of idea or belief or something that you kind of lean a little bit more towards?
I have lots. Oh yeah, of course. I mean, you like no belief is true, but like I said, some beliefs are valid and some beliefs are useful. And so I have beliefs. I just never convince myself that they're 100% true. I just always leave the door open, right? They're like, scientific theories. It's a theory until it's disproven. So I'm just waiting for these things to be disproven. And until they do, I'll keep going along according with them. But, I think in terms of the sort of big picture and the questions of God and sort of the reality of, nature of reality, if you will, I think that it's basically all really explainable through like numbers, right? Like I think that, there's oneness of being. There's only one. It's just one, right? One thing, one universe, one God, the totality, whatever you want to call it. But it has two opposite facets, right? So it's kind of like a coin has two sides. There's only one coin, but one side has one picture and the other side has another picture, right? So the yin yang symbol, I think, is a really good, it's one of my favorite sort of religious symbols because I think it really captures the essence of it. There's one circle, right? Two colors, and in each of the colors, the opposite color is there because there's a bit of the opposite in everything. So like matter is made out of empty space, right? And I think that in all good people, there's a little bit of evil, and it's always about this balancing act. So that's the dualistic aspect of it. The one appearing as two, and then when the two interact, they create a third. You know what I'm saying? Like when matter and empty space and matter interact, then there's more stuff that comes out of it. So I feel like when the two opposite forces play with each other, there's always a third thing that comes into play, right? And so you always see the law of three in nature. You see a lot of trinities in like spiritual traditions as well. You could talk about, the mind, the body, and the soul. There's all these different trinities throughout, and it's a pattern, right? But the third isn't real. It's just this like manifestation of the two forces coming together. And so I think that this sense of I that we have is the result of again, two opposing forces working together or coming into play with each other. And it gives us this sense of being aware and a thing. But we're a lot more than that. We're everything.
Yeah. I like that you said about the yin yang thing, because coming from the background where I came from, it was looking forward to a future where there was no opposites. It was just only like if you're talking about good or evil, right? It's only good, and all evil is going to be gone. And some people used to say, well, you wouldn't know one without the other. So, and it's like now I'm kind of understanding that a little bit, because it's like, remember when you used to color with crayons, and then there'd be there was always like this white crayon, and it was like the only colored crayon that you can't see it. You color on the paper. It's like, why is there a white crayon? But then you get a black piece of paper, and then you're like, oh, okay, it's for a different colored paper. But it's kind of like that. You need the opposites to kind of experience anything, kind of, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. There's this another quote, because SpongeBob. It was it was this musician, this classical. I think he was a pianist, and he was getting interviewed, and this guy was like, "Oh, how are you such a good pianist? How do you handle the notes so well?" And the pianist said, "I don't handle the notes any better than anybody else. It's the pauses in between the notes. That's where the art is, right?" And that's what you're saying is like that. A white crayon on a white paper doesn't do much, but when you got a black background, then all of a sudden the white stands out, right? So it's all about contrast. It's about balance, contrast, and this tug of war between opposites. But they're not opposites. It's one thing. It just has two aspects, right? At least that's what I believe. What's that?
They harmonize.
They can be brought to harmony, but I think ultimately there's always this kind of imbalance, right? There's never perfect balance in anything. And so even in ecosystems, you have predators. They become really successful in an ecosystem. They kill off a lot of prey, and then all of a sudden they start starving, and then they start dying off, and then the prey recover, right? The deer population blows up, the wolf population goes down, right? And then when the wolf population reaches a certain point where they're sufficient again, they start to become more successful. And then there's a bunch of elk out there because they've been breeding. So if you look at nature and if you look at the ecosystem, it's never a perfect balance. It's always going this way, right? More wolves, more elk. More wolves, more elk.
So what's gonna happen with the human population? Because now it's like reaching these
Can
what
we
is it?
bring those forces to harmonize, my friend? Can we bring them to harmonize? And can we find a nice little like this instead of going, because that's what we're doing now. It's like, oh, let's elect a black president. Oh, let's elect a racist. Oh, let's do this. Oh, it's like,
Yeah,
we're bipolar, right? We're just
yeah.
so far apart. But if you bring those forces to harmonize, there's still going to be some wobble, but it's going to be like this. And we're always going to be in that middle safe zone where we're good to go, you know?
So it's like if you go back to math, it's like the Fibonacci sequence or the golden ratio. It's like or pi, you know, kind of like when it's when you every time you get a little bit more, it's like that it gets closer and closer to where it never actually is ever in the middle, but it's kind of gets closer and closer to that golden ratio or whatever.
Fucking beautiful analogy, dude. Absolutely. That's exactly it. You're going to the center, but you never actually get to the center, right? Isn't that crazy? That's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
It's
agree
like
with you, man.
like when you try to put those two magnets together and you can't ever put them right together because there's always a little
Yeah, that little space.
yeah.
Yeah, man. Good. Wow. Thank you for that. This is magical. This is not what I expected. I was like, oh, we'll probably just, chat for half an hour about synchronicities. And it's like, holy crap, we've gone on a magical mystery tour, you and I.
Oh man, it's what is it? It's like it's after 10 there, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, it's all good. So I've been having a great time, man. This is
It was
been a
awesome.
good
Yeah.
one.
I love having these types of conversations, man. Yep.
Yeah, I'm trying to do more stuff like this now, more frequently. So I'm really trying to commit to like reaching out to people and being like, let's do a podcast. So it's they're so like time consuming, and I want to sit down and have like a long conversation with people, even though a lot of the times I think the viewers don't really want that, but I don't care what they want. I want to have like in-depth conversations, and so finding like a 2-hour chunk of time sometimes is a little bit challenging for me, but I'm making more of an effort now, and this is the first of many.
Mm. Well, yeah, I appreciate it, man. I was I was so close to to Victoria, like as far as like I was where was I at? Was it Tulalip? I was like it was in Washington, but I was looking on the map and I was looking to where it was like pretty close to it was still far away to get to, but driving and stuff but I guess there's boats you can drive on and stuff to get there, but
Ferries, yeah. No, don't worry, I'll come visit you. It's in the works.
Yeah,
Don't come here.
No, I was just thinking, man, it's like so close, but I was close to Oregon too. I didn't get down to Oregon either, which I wanted to see, had family there too, but
So how was your trip? You were seeing your brother, right?
oh yeah, I never talked to you since after we got back, right? Oh, dude, that was
hang on a second. What if we stop this and then have just a chat about your trip? Because
okay.
Unless you want to talk about, actually, you know what? We can just keep recording and we'll cut it out if it's not valid.
Okay, yeah, whatever you want. I don't care. But
Whatever
yeah,
you
it was
want.
awesome. It was just to meet like a brother that you've never known before, and he's a really good guy. You'd like him a lot. He had me laughing a lot. He's super funny. He was cracking jokes all the time. But we lived in this beautiful place in the woods. Like we had campfires, every night. We just sat by the fire. The four of us, him and I, and my sister that lives here, and then my sister in Oregon. It was amazing.
So just for if we do end up leaving this in the episode, this is the brother that basically left the truth when you were very young, correct?
He left before I was born.
Holy shit!
Yeah.
So you never met him at all?
I have a memory when I was like around 3. I have this kind of like vague memory of looking up at this grown-up person and thinking like, oh, that's my brother Stan. But it's just a vague memory. He doesn't remember me at all. Like he doesn't remember where that would even be at. And I told him, I was like, it was in someone else's house. Like it wasn't our house. We must have been visiting somebody and you were there too. But and then when I was like 13, he came over here. I was visiting Hawaii and he was visiting Hawaii, but we just kind of like briefly in passing. It was a house full of people, but I didn't really talk to him, get a chance to talk to him or anything. It was just the circumstances. But he doesn't remember that me either. So So this was the first time that I actually got to meet him. It was awesome. You know, my sisters, of course, you know, they know him, but yeah, so it was really cool. Him and my other older sister were telling us like what life was like growing up in like the older kids, and then me and my other sister were the youngest, so we were telling them what it was like, you know, being with the younger kids out of 11 and stuff. So it was kind of fun. Yeah.
11 kids, man. Holy.
Yeah.
Wow. And so it was you and your sister were the youngest, and then the other two that you were hanging out with were the two oldest.
No, my other sister, she's right in the middle.
Okay.
So she kind of has a perspective of, she kind of knew the older kids and the younger kids. She has like right in the middle. So,
That's so
but
funny.
yeah.
So meeting your brother, was it eerie? Like, do you guys have a strong resemblance, mannerisms, appearance-wise, or was it just like?
I noticed a lot of mannerisms that he shares with my mom. A lot.
Okay.
Like, yeah, I saw, like he was, yeah, certain characteristics and mannerisms. I was like, yeah, that was kind of cool. And then he was mentioning stuff about me too. He's like, yeah, you remind me of like one of my other brothers, you know, kind of remind me of David a little bit and stuff. But yeah,
I can't imagine having 10 siblings, man. I just, wow, that's incredible.
But yeah, it was a good experience. It was really cool. So, but I was up there and I was thinking, oh man, Victoria is like not. You're in Victoria, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, it's just kind of like across the water, because we drove up to La Conner. Have you heard of La Conner, Washington? Small little town. And it was like on the way to Anacortes. Have you heard of Anacortes?
Yes. Yeah. There's a ferry there that comes to Victoria, I believe.
Oh, okay.
There's an Anacortes ferry, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, so I'm familiar with that area kind of.
Oh, okay. So when I was a kid, when I went with some family friends when I was a kid. We drove up. We went on the ferry from Port Angeles.
Yeah.
Up to Victoria.
Yeah.
And then we drove all the way up. And then we took another ferry from Victoria, went over to Vancouver.
Right.
Okay, so they got ferries going all over the place.
All over the place, yeah. From the States to Canada, from Canada to Canada, like, because I'm on an island, right? So, yeah, as you know. So, yeah, we have to get a ferry just to get to the mainland, Vancouver, lower mainland. So, yeah, it's a nice island. I prefer yours, but I'll settle for mine.
I don't know, man. I was looking at that one place wherever you were driving, someplace it was really beautiful. It's like in the forest. And
oh yeah, that's like my drive to church is through like forest, basically, like just the woods. There's a lot of that stuff. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's beautiful. I'm kind of joking, half joking. I think the grass is greener on the other side. In Maui, I've been there once, and it's always stayed like stuck in my heart in a way, you know. But yeah, I mean, my home is beautiful as well. I used to take it for granted, but not anymore. I know what I have now, and I'm not leaving it.
Yeah, every place is unique and good in a way. There's always good things about everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, but there are some places where it's like, I wouldn't put myself in that situation voluntarily. You know what I mean? Like, I would never choose to move to like Calgary, Alberta, Canada. No offense. Well, I have a lot of colleagues who live there and work there, and it's it's a nice town. I just would never live there. I don't like big cities, and I like the ocean. So I'm going to try to stick with that. But yeah, if you have to live somewhere, I mean, you can make the best of it. There's beauty everywhere.
Yeah. Even in the desert, huh?
Yes. Dude, I bet you the night sky in the desert is just like this friggin' sight to behold, man. No light pollution, just wide open space. Man, it would be crazy out there.
Have you ever been anywhere where you can look up, there's no light pollution, and seen like that streak of the part of the Milky Way and stuff? You seen that?
Like I've never seen it. Like I've seen it in some pictures, but I have gone camping deep in the woods where, yeah, you get some pretty nice shots of it. But there's always, I find like you have to go really, really, really remote in order to see it the way that it's portrayed in pictures and stuff. Like you can see it. It's just never that contrast, it's never that bright.
There's I haven't done it yet, but I want to go camping up in the crater that's on the top of the mountain here, because, well, they call it like a crater, but it's a big caldera, and in that caldera there's little cinder cones and craters and stuff. It's huge. It's like the island of Manhattan can fit inside of it. That's how big it is.
Holy smokes! And you go camping in it?
They have you can hike down to the bottom of it, and they have like cabins you can rent and stuff.
Cool.
But they have up on the top is where they have the observatory. You can't go there. It's just government stuff. But there's like a telescope there and stuff. But they are up there because it's in the middle of the Pacific Ocean where there's no light pollution and stuff. It's way up there, 10,000 feet above sea level. But if you get down and you hike down the crater, there's no light pollution, especially because you're inside the bowl of it. So I can't imagine, like, if it's on a clear night, you could probably see everything out there. It'd be so cool.
And that's on Maui?
That's on Haleakala, the top of. It's the tallest. It's the tallest part of Maui. Yeah.
So yeah, that's when I visit. We'll definitely make that one of our trips to go. I got to check that out. That sounds epic.
Yeah, it'd be fun.
Yeah, man.
Cool. You got to work. You got to work tomorrow.
I do, yeah. So I should probably get going. But yeah, thanks a lot for joining me, man. I'm really glad we were able to do this.
It was awesome. Thank you, Ollie.
All right, buddy. Do you want to see it before I launch it into cyberspace? Do you want to like veto it, or because I can cut things out. I can do whatever you want. I always offer that to people.
It's all good. I'm learning to be vulnerable and just take me as you got me. If you don't like me, then too bad.
Yeah, too bad for them, man. You're a likable fella, let me tell you.
Thanks, man.
No worries, man. Yeah, man. All right, well, have a good rest of your evening, and thanks again, and we'll talk soon.